The next president is going to inherit something more than a financial catastrophe. He's going to inherit a shadow government, which is essentially run by elected officials that can assume a power at any moment. This so-called shadow government has been a long time coming. It's not a new development. It's been building up over the years. And now all it's going to take is the right event, such as a terrorist attack, for those in power, non-elected bureaucrats, to assume power and emerge from the shadows. Again, very, very secret. President Bush in May 2007, in very stealth-like fashion, issued 2 directives setting up the continuity of government, which he doesn't even need a terrorist attack to essentially take over the government and become a dictator. All that has to be declared is a national emergency, which can be a catastrophe of any sort, including the crash of Wall Street and people rioting on Wall Street and around the country. This could trigger the so-called shadow government from emerging from the shadows. Under these directives, if Bush declares martial law and the shadow government emerges, he'll become a dictator in the sense that he doesn't have to reconvene the Supreme Court or Congress, and most likely he won't. As anybody who has studied George Bush and his actions over the last 7 to 8 years, he is not one that respects the Constitution. We really got a glimpse of the so-called continuity of government, shadow government, under Ronald Reagan, who set up an elaborate plan in case the Soviet Union attacked the United States with a nuclear attack. Cabinet members, 3 different levels of teams would be assembled. But Reagan pondered the idea and said, well, maybe cabinet members aren't the ones that will be totally competent. So he picked 2 particular people, Congressman Dick Cheney, whom, as we know, is now Vice President of the United States, and Donald Rumsfeld, who at that time was a big chief executive of a major corporation. In fact, Rumsfeld and Cheney would disappear once a year to go on secret training missions on how to coordinate things in case of some kind of national emergency or attack. After 9/11, though, the old Cold War strategy didn't seem to work, because you wouldn't get much planning for a nuclear attack or whatever, because terrorist attacks are spontaneous. So Bush in his directive decided he would just set up a permanent government outside of Washington, D.C., staffed by non-elected officials. The plans for the shadow government, as we're calling it, are quite elaborate. In fact, most people don't know that sprinkled throughout the United States are underground bunkers and bunkers in mountains the size of cities that have restaurants, all crematoriums, all kinds of facilities staffed by people who work and live in those particular bunkers. These bunkers are supposedly for some kind of catastrophe where the elite can go escape. In fact, one of those particular bunkers is located in Bluemont, Virginia. It has an office of the presidency, which regularly receives briefings and is ready to take over at a moment's notice. And these bunkers are so secretive that when military personnel have been called before Congress, when they were first discovered in the mid-1970s, called before Congress, they refused to even give any details about these particular bunkers. They still operate without any kind of congressional oversight and through secretive black ops budgets. What's the bottom line here? We're one terrorist attack away from martial law being declared in this country, or one catastrophe or national emergency. Under the Bush directives, any future president will have the power to declare martial law in the event of a terrorist attack or a national emergency. Those who know history will do well to remember that in 1961, on his way out of office, Dwight D. Eisenhower warned the country that this was indeed happening. He called it the military-industrial complex. In his farewell address, he says it will not only drain us financially, but it will also threaten our civil liberties. We have to remember that the people who wrote our Constitution would never have approved of a non-elective, secretive shadow government. They believed that we had to have open government accountable to our representatives. If not, democratic government ceases to exist, and the only alternative at that point is an authoritarian regime.